Good morning and welcome to Great Tree Zen Women's Temple. Our speaker this morning is the Reverend Chimy Atkinson. But first, we'd like to have the opening sutra.
Perfect Dharma is readily with even 100,000 billion kalpas, having it to see and listen to, remember and accept. I am willing to taste the truth of those
This way.
Then a short statement on Dharma. In Buddhism, when Zen practitioners share their understanding of the teachings and practice, it is offered freely as a practice of Dana Paramita. Dana is a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, and this practice is done without expectation of getting something in return. This is the spirit of speaking about the Dharma. Other ways to practice Dana is to offer support to those who share the teachings, to support places of spiritual practice, and to give without judgment or expectations when opportunities arise. Those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a Dana basis. Please support their practice by giving what you can. And at the moment, it's easier for Chimyo if you send your Dana for her to greattreetemple.org and follow the donate path. And there's a place that you can put a note who the Dana is for on that process. Now, brief introduction to someone we don't need an introduction to, really. The Reverend Chimy Atkinson was ordained by Reverend Teijo Munnich in 2007. Received Dharma Transmission in 2015 and served as head practice at Great Tree Zen Women's Temple until 2020. She received her monastic training at Great Tree and completed Sotoshu International training periods, Ango, in Japan, in 2010 and 2011. She completed additional training periods at the Aichi Senmon Nisodo in Nagoya in 2012 and Ryumonji Monastery in Iowa in 2014. And we have known her as, hey, Chimyo.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Everybody hear me? Okay. Please tell me.
Not too well.
Okay.
Did you check the audio? I don't think it's the speaker, it's the audio. It might be down.
You might turn on the background thing.
What?
It may be hearing you as background. You might turn that on.
Help her, she can help you. Help. The audio, I mean by the speaker. Looks like it's the snowball. It's just not picking up. Why don't you adjust it to just speaker only
I can just move over.
on the back of the ball? Yeah, one side is speaker and one side in the middle is both.
Okay.
Is it picking it up on the snowball?
It should be. It's,
Does it say it is?
yes.
Is it better now?
Can you hear
Yes,
better
it is
now?
better. Thank you.
She's a little closer, okay.
You know, you just need to be the projecting
Yes, sure, okay.
projecting Chimyo.
Mhm. Well, good morning, everybody. technical difficulties with four legs.
The books.
I'm fine. Okay. Okay. Being very well aware that a bunch of folks are about to do Jukai. And usually before that, the theme is, or the sort of theme for the year is talking about the precepts. And I've talked about the precepts before. I feel like I've talked about them a lot, but maybe I haven't. So that's kind of what I'm talking about today. Some part of me also wanted to talk about Keizan Zenji's anniversary, which they're having a big celebration over in Japan this month. But I won't talk about that, but I will remind you and encourage you to learn more about Keizan Zenji, who is sort of the second most important, no, the second important person in our lineage, in the Zen lineage. And if we want to be educated about the tradition we're following, we need to know about what we're following and have some, have some real knowledge about Soto Zen. So I would encourage everyone to look up Keizan Zenji and read the Denkoroku, which is his most important work. Any of the translations will do, so long as we're familiar with our ancestors. That's very important. But I'm talking about precepts today. One more time, and it'll come up again and again, because that's what we're doing here. What I want to do, and I have this here, because this is what the folks who are doing the Jukai ceremony next month will be using, and I wanted to use the words that we should all be familiar with. The form that Teijo is using. And I'm just going to read these because, as I said, we hear them over and over again. The triple refuge. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I take refuge in the Buddha as the perfect teacher. I take refuge in the Sangha as the perfect life. I have completely taken refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. The three pure precepts. I will strive to avoid the unwholesome. I will strive to do the wholesome. I will strive to embrace the benefit of all living beings and benefit all living beings. The 10 prohibitory precepts. A follower of the way does not willfully take life. A follower of the way who does not take what is not given. A follower of the way does not misuse sexuality. A follower of the way does not lie. A follower of the way does not intoxicate oneself or others. A follower of the way does not discuss the faults of others. A follower of the way does not praise oneself and slander others. A follower of the way does not attach to anything, even the teaching. A follower of the way does not harbor ill will. A follower of the way does not turn away from the three treasures. All that sounds really simple. Sounds completely rational. Sounds completely like what we want to be. Nothing in that sounds as if it's going to take us along the wrong path. It sounds like we care about the world and the beings in it. And being that being something that I want to be able to describe myself as being. Why is it so hard? As I said, we say these words a lot. We do this a lot, maybe not every day, but if you participate in the monthly full moon ceremony, wherever you're participating in it, online, here at Great Tree, wherever. That's a basic ceremony in Soto Zen. And nearly everybody who has the capacity to do it, every temple that has the capacity to do it, does it. The full moon ceremony. When you take the precepts or jukai, we say it. Some people, and jukai basically means taking the precepts, which is all it means. Some people participate in jukai many times. Year after year sometimes, or here at Great Tree, whether you sow a ratsu or not, if you're at that jukai ceremony and participating, we all say it. The whole room is saying it. When you, if you decide to ordain, you say that. When you do transmission, you say it. Should be tattooed on your brain. I have to read it because my brain is, yeah. But I like to think that every time I say it, it goes a little deeper. I mean it more. I aspire to it. The aspiration becomes a little stronger. I like to think. We talk about Zazen a lot, and Zazen is the cornerstone, the basis of this practice in this tradition, as it should be. But I don't think, and I'd say this about myself, I don't think sometimes we really understand what Zazen Shikantaza is about. We don't really understand what happened under the Bodhi tree when Siddhartha sat down. We aspire to do the same as he did. But somehow the arrow, you think you're shooting it, but it's all going this way, because the basic thing, it's hard to describe, and it seems silly to say it in words, that Siddhartha did on that night was to lose all or drop the samsara that he was building. I've been talking a lot too about self and no self, and there's a really nice book by Shoako Komura Mahayana, gosh, I should have wrote it down, but it's on his website, and it's a small book that you can only get on the website called Mahayana, and it had something to do Mahayana and no self. If I find it, send it to you, or you can email me. But it's a small book, and I really got into it. One of the few books that I've been able to get into over these years. But what I think happened that night for Siddhartha was that self really disappeared. And the samsara that we build, or I'm going to say that I build with this idea that I am a self, or that there is more than what really is here, is what keeps me from really embodying and being these precepts. Because I don't believe that shikantaza is simply for, I don't know, what else would it be for? If all it is shikantaza and sitting on the cushion, what is it for? To look good sitting on the cushion? To be good? A good, cushions, holder or something, placeholder? What? Because sometimes we forget, we have all these images of the Buddha sitting on a cushion. Sometimes we have these images or statues of the Buddha laying down, sometimes standing. What I hope as we go along in this tradition, there's some image or more lost the word, a more obvious, that's not the word, but a more obvious image of the Buddha doing what the Buddha did most, is walking through the world. Yeah, he did a lot of sitting down and teaching people to sit and, we say become enlightened and free themselves, and help in hopes of freeing themselves from self. But he did a lot of walking, hundreds of miles for all those years, moving through the world. So in this exploration that I'm doing in my own practice, it's like, how do I, do this practice sitting on the cushion, but how do I move through the world? How do I move through the world without killing, with right speech, with being wholesome in the world, performing, not performing, being and embodying wholesomeness. Not simply how do I not hurt people, but how do I create? How do I not create, but how do I really get beyond samsara, this samsara I build? Because really the thing is, the reason why things are so hard, I think, because we're all in our little bubble samsaras that we build from my delusion of self, my delusion of what is right and wrong, my delusion of good and bad, my delusion of what I think should be done to help folks, coming in conflict with everybody else's. Yeah. That's why I think we have so much trouble. All this protecting of this delusion so it doesn't fall apart, even as it falls apart right in front of us every single second. That's where the fear comes from, because, oh my God, let me pull this delusion back together, you know. Knowing in some ways that knowing full well that it's not real, that it's a delusion. How dare you impose your delusion upon me? This delusion of control, this delusion of no change, permanence, that I fight to hold on to, which is why I'm always killing, I'm always saying, slandering people. I'm always misusing even the teachings to get what I want, to say what I think is important. So the sitting, shikantaza, is our night under the Bodhi tree, in which we make that effort to see through our delusion, our fear, our anger. To stop the war in our hearts. There's really no way to really do this. What I was looking for, and there may be something out there in these tons of sutras, that there are hundreds of sutras that, I've only read a few of, might not have time to read all of them. We'll try. Where I see the Buddha saying, I sat down and this is what I did and this is what happened. There's this parable of him sitting down and, Mara and all that, But there's really no step by step. I sat down and what? I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's I don't think it's an omission or anything. If somebody knows where it is, please tell me. I think if that is true, it really is those last words of the Buddha. Don't write this down. It's like, what you writing down? A right to oneself and all of that. Don't hold on to my words, because one really has to embody this in oneself. No instruction, explicit instruction, can be given. All the effort has to come from here. Very interesting. I'm going to jump because I always do that because I'm a tangential person. I'm learning that. I've been telling this story because I'm calling it a story, not because I made it up, but in a sense I did, because it's something that that happened in the past, something that, of course, is interpreted through this past I. and therefore is somewhat delusion, but it's something that I think because whatever the reality was, it stayed with me. And I'm not going to tell the whole story because I've been telling it for a minute. It's getting on my nerves. But it came up for me while I was at Tassajara. And it's a memory of being at Shogoji, which is a temple that I did Ango in many years ago, more than a decade ago. And the abbot for that Ango was a really, really nice man. I'll just call him Hojo-san. See, I don't know who he is anyway. But Hojo-san, and he could be any Hojo-san. Everybody in this room has a Hojo-san. And this was my Hojo-san for that minute. And I was his Jisha. And we would stand in an alcove in the morning, getting ready to do what's called a jundo, going to all of the altars in the temple to offer incense. He would offer the incense and then and the last one would end at the Soto. Or at least that's how I remember it. There you go. And we stand in this alcove waiting for a signal, which I can't remember which the signal is. And we'd stand there and there's a thermometer on the wall. It was the dead of winter in the Japanese mountains. And every morning, the thermometer would read 0 or below. And he would stand there, we'd stand there, and I'd have the incense in my lighter and ready. And he'd stand there and he'd just begin talking in Japanese to me. He knows I don't speak Japanese. I don't speak a word, but he's talking to me. He'd point to the thermometer and just begin talking. Very low, gentle voice. And it was wonderful because what I remember, I had no ideas, just standing there with this gentleman. I don't know what he thinks. Some people tell me that he's fairly conservative. That didn't matter then. He was just talking to me. And his speech and his voice were just like wind rustling in the trees, just like the creek rolling along, just like birds in the trees. It was both, I didn't worry about what he was saying. It was just comforting, encouraging. When Goofy Me is, trying to light the incense, while walking, or dropping it on the floor, or losing the lighter, or the lighter won't work. A comfort to have what felt not judgmental, not anything, just like the birds in the trees. You hear these people, and I know what they mean. I love animals too. I heard this person going off on something. She said, those people are animals. They're just animals. And going on and on and on and on, whoever those people were. Those people are animals. And then in the end, she says, they're not civilized. They're just animals. And then in the end, she says, I like animals better, they're more civilized. I'm like, okay, make up your mind. First of all, we are animals, people are animals, you know. And just like animals, we have some big hairy ones and there's some little, you know, tiny cute ones, Stella. There's some big noisy ones. You know, some of us smell bad at times. We haven't had our bath for a while. Some of us are lost and scared. Some of us are, you know, angry, or, you know, some of us are really vicious. Some of us are very sweet and come and sit on your lap and do everything you say. Some of us are potty trained, and some of us are just flinging our stuff all over the place, you know, the way they do. What's the difference? The difference meaning that, you know, you can't understand what I'm saying, you know, when I'm a Chihuahua, you know. How about we turn off all these ideas and identities and what we think we know, all our samsara creation, and just listen to each other. Listen to our voices, like you listen to the creek. Just for a minute. I know that's hard, you know. Just listen. If everybody just did that for a minute, what would we hear? Tune out the language, tune out the ideas, tune out the, you know, status, all this crowing that we do. That's meaningless anyway. And just not listen, actually hear what's going on. What's that like? There's a video of Suzuki Roshi from San Francisco Zen Center, where he's talking about the bird outside. What's going on outside. And I heard some of those birds, they're loud. They have harsh voices. You know, he's like, the sound comes. What is it before you label that sound bird? Can't we do that together? Maybe that's what happened under the Bodhi tree. And what happened went so far, and so became so real for the Buddha that when he got up, all he did was walk, and that's what he heard. When people were asking him ridiculous questions, and he answered, you know, when he met the, you know, the, no, you don't know because I haven't said it yet. Sorry, my language is getting, I'm having trouble sometimes. When he met the grieving widow, you know, he didn't try to fix. He simply said, see this, find the mustard seed. When he met the serial killer, he didn't say, you must be punished, you're not worthy, or you're worthy, here's what to do. No. They live their lives, and Said what? When Ananda, with his great brain for holding all the information, but not so great capacity for actually finding, enlightenment or liberation, however you want to call it. And it took him till after the Buddha had gone to be liberated. He didn't magically say, okay, Ananda, you got it? No, he said, keep going. How do we meet the precepts? How do we become that? How do we become the person who doesn't get intoxicated, whatever you define as intoxicating? How do we become the person? Because this is what happens to me. I know what killing means when somebody wants to kill me, wants to destroy me. How come it's so hard for me to, define that when I want to get somebody, or I don't like somebody, or, somebody's made me angry, or somebody's made me scared. There's somebody that I need to punish because they did something that scared me, that took something away from me. That makes me want to kill that person or some part of that person, rather than but to hope for healing for that person. And go all the way out of my way to redefine killing, So I have a justification for not following that precept all the way through. Because self is still here. Self is this cloud that I'm always trying to see through, or sometimes because I'm scared or lazy or whatever, don't even bother to try to even wave it away. Just want what I want. Even though I say the precepts and have said them over the years so often, that somewhere they're tattooed on my brain still, kind of. I never got it in here. So what I wish for the folks who are taking Jukai this time, and all the times they're about to take them or speak them, repeat them, not that it's not as hard for you. I wish you that crucible because it's necessary. But let's see this. But that I wish you many many opportunities under the Bodhi tree, under that tree. Excuse me, what am I doing? I don't know why. This gets emotional for me every single time. I feel crazy. I'm not crazy. It's just, you know. I've been doing this. Oh, good. I have my tissue this time. What was I about to say? I've been doing this a hell of a long time. At this point, half my life. In some way or another. And I'm not discouraged. Not discouraged. Because I think the Buddhas and ancestors are a bright light at the end of my tunnel saying, this is possible. I'm just a little bit of a meathead. And, you know, so yeah. Like I said, I wish you, as you go through this process, whether you've been through the process before and all the many times that you will, that liberation. So, okay, is it telling me to shut up? Is it time? Okay, well, I'm gonna stop now because I've already cried again. I don't know what is going on. I don't know. Then almost every time it's happening to me. So, um, forgive me. But I'm not crying because tears of joy. Calm. So thank you for listening to me. And I'm gonna blow my nose now, excuse me. And if you have anything to say or,
Other side.
oh, did I put it there? Okay,
Thought so.
put it on the right side.
No, okay, that's.
I don't know what I did with it. Maybe I dropped it on the floor. I don't know. Okay. Excuse the foolishness. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like to say, go ahead and help me out, whatever, you know. Folks at home, I hope you can hear me.
There's a raised hand.
Okay, I can't see your names and I can barely see your faces from here. But hello.
Hello, and I can't see very well either. My computer's in the shop and I'm on my phone for the first time in a Zoom meeting. My name's Dave, and I want to share a little image. I met Shohaku Okumura a couple of times, and I know a few words in Japanese. And the fact that the character for mind, shin, can also be translated heart. And where we often here in the West will point to our heads when we say, I think, Shohaku Okumura would point to his chest.
Hmm.
I think And the talk is just reminding me, both, of course, his name, but the overall spirit of the talk reminding me of that moment, seeing Shohaku point to his heart when he says, I think.
Mm, yeah. Thank you. My understanding of that is when he's pointing this, because I'm a Westerner and, you know, I do the dualistic thing like most of us do. It's heart mind is the actual sort of translation for that. We say mind and we say heart. It's heart mind. It's not two. It's one of those words I wish we had a good translation for, because even as we say heart mind, we're still ripping it apart. So yes, thank you for pointing that out. Thank you.
The original character actually looks like a heart.
Mm,
It has a shape of a heart.
yeah.
And even the character, if you look at it now, it looks like a heart.
Can y'all hear her? Mhm.
Yeah, so you could hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
Hello?
Mhm.
You're muted.
You,
Okay. Thank you very much, Chimyo. I appreciated particularly the story about the abbot who was speaking in a language you didn't understand. And it reminded me of a couple of things. And one is that sort of the power of sound, even sometimes in our chanting, when we're chanting like a Dharani or something like that, then we don't have we don't need to have a translation for this to communicate or move us. And also, well, I have a story, but it would take too long. But anyway, I just appreciate that. And I think that sound is a very powerful communicator, even if without words, maybe sometimes even better without words. Just like in session, when we're practicing together and we don't talk, it's very intimate. And we know each other, and it doesn't depend on having information about each other. It's just, we're just, because we're almost like more united in that silence than we would be if we were talking. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
yeah, I agree with you. That's the importance of sesshin and of Sangha practice, you know, to be in that together and to listen to and, you know, be aware of and, you know, smell each other, whatever's going on, you know, with each other. That's what creates Sangha. So yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, when we think of the life of Buddha, you know, yeah, he sat on the Bodhi tree by himself, you know, unless, you know, want to count Mara. But the rest of his life was in Sangha, on the road with Sangha. So we need to learn to travel that road together, follow the schedule together. How can you do that unless you come and be together, at least once in a while? Yes, you should come to, no, I'm not going to do that. You know, every once in a while, go to sesshin somewhere, sit in zazen kai together, you know, love it and hate it, however it falls for you, but do it. I agree. Thank you. Rengetsu?
Chimyo, thank you so much. Appreciate it immensely. You had used an interesting word when you were talking about the precepts. you said that you wished that we could go through the crucible because those are necessary. I know it's a hard question, but if you could talk about that a little bit.
Hmm. I think I was using that word because I was trying to say something. And this applies to everyone. You know, you're taking the precepts, and our first kind of coming to this practice. Okay, bad metaphor. Here we go. I had this idea of, and I was trying to write it, that we're scooped up like raw clay, with all the rocks still in it, and all of the grass and rocks, and we pick it up and we roll it around in our hands, and kind of in a lazy sort of, I need to get there right away, I need to get enlightened right away, pick it up and just plop it on the floor, and it all just smashes out and hasn't been kneaded or anything. And then you try to use it as a cup because, trying to think of myself as serving others. And if all I do is just smash it out on the floor, pick it up and trying to run some water in it, it hasn't even really dried or anything, or might be partially dried or whatever. And it's just, mud, try to put some water in that, it's just going to run through my fingers. Part of me has to be shaped by the practice, has to be shaped by other people with me in the practice, Sangha and teacher, and all of that, makes an effort to create this cup, this bowl, whatever shape I'm going to be in, I think I was trying to apply it to my training in a way, but it applies to everyone. This is a practice forming you, shaping you, and your effort in that practice to create this thing that will serve, not just you, but all of, how can you, be wholesome and take care of the world and care for the world if you can't hold anything yourself? And if you really want that cup to last, the crucible is all that effort I try to put into it, all that quote unquote failure that I have to see, in order to, smooth that cup out and make it into something, not make it into something, but to let it be something that it's going to be that will really serve.
Thank
And
you.
the crucible is just this life, all the things we go through, every time we, don't get there, that's the fire. Hurts a little bit, burns a little bit, but it pulls out all that, all the unwholesome things, all those, hate to say it this way, impurities that the sutras sometimes say, use that word, impure. I'm not thinking of impure as, being bad, but all those spaces, all those bubbles, whatever it is, that have to go away in order for us to be of use, not of use,
Yeah.
to be able to care for the world. So I know that's long, kind of windy thing, but you get it, maybe.
Thank you. Thank
Sorry.
you very much. Yes.
So maybe that's why I used the word crucible. I didn't even know I said it.
Excellent.
Anyone else? Anna? You have
Oh,
anything to say?
I was just saying thank you, but also feel grateful that you just shared
your emotions in that space as well, because I feel like that's hard in these spaces sometimes, but I feel grateful for it because,
Your voice is getting so soft. I don't.
oh, sorry, I just felt grateful for the honesty, yeah.
Thank you. You want to say anything? Okay. Well, it's 11 o'clock. Norma, did you want to say something?
Yes. It's, first of all, it's just wonderful to see you, Chimyo, to hear you. Your integrity is so beautiful. And I appreciated your tears, your words. It was just really a very beautiful talk. And I was thinking also of that story you told about the abbot, and it reminded me of a time when I had a friend whose parents, he was French, and he was visiting New York, and we became friends, and his parents came to visit. And I took them on a tour of Manhattan. I do not speak French. They did not speak English. And we had the most wonderful time visually, through the arts, through our smiles, just for being together. And it just reminded me of that beautiful experience. So thank you. And I'm just, also the visual of Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree. That's a visual that I often have. And it was just so beautiful to hear your interpretation and also your wisdom. So thank you.
Good
Miss
to
you.
see you. Well, Norma?
Give back the merit. It's a call and response. Join us if you can. May the merit of this practice
May the merit of this practice
benefit all beings
benefit all beings
and bring peace.
and bring peace.
Thank you, Chimyo.
Thank you, Jim.
Chimyo will do 3 bows. So that's awesome. We're in session, so we'll have another period of zazen if anyone wants to stay.
Lorna, is it a 10-minute break?
I don't know.
wrong person. She's gone out. Teijo has gone out, so it would usually be like a 10-minute kinhin.
Okay. Very good.
We start the
Before they start talking. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you.